Welcome to the Experience Strategy Podcast, where we talk to customers and experts about how to create products and services that feel like time well spent. And now, here are your hosts, experienced nerds, strategists, Dave Norton and Aranza Savas.
Welcome to the Experience Strategy Podcast. I'm Aranza Savas.
And I'm Dave Norton.
And you may not know this, but Dave and I are not just podcast hosts. In fact, what we do most of the time is we help some of the world's biggest and most valuable companies create customer and employee experiences that are truly meaningful, that have huge impact for both customers and for companies. And one of the ways that we do that is through a program that we call the Collaboratives. It's a super unique program, really unlike anything, anywhere, because not only does it provide epic thought leadership from some of the world's greatest writers, thinkers, and researchers in customer experience and employee experience, but it brings them together with experienced strategists from a wide range of non-competitive companies who then look at how to solve some of the big, hairy problems that they can't solve inside their own boardrooms, looking at it from their old ways of looking at it. And instead, we all get together and look at these questions and look at these challenges together and find innovative and bold solutions that are truly on the cusp of our customers' needs, and that look at our customers not just as individuals using our product or service or experience in a given moment, but it looks at our customers holistically so that we see how their lives financially, relationally, health-wise, all intersect to create these beautiful, rich, varied human beings that use our products, services, and experiences. And in addition to that, we do research for these companies. We create experiences that bond and unify experienced strategists across a range of companies to create really strong professional networks that stay with them throughout their entire careers. And we drive their product, services, and experiences forward by conducting research on their behalf that they then bring back into their organizations. So every year, Dave and I and our team and the members of this collaborative program look at what the biggest problems are. And we say, okay, in the year ahead, what are people going to focus on? What do they need answers to? What do they need new ideas to answer big questions for their customers? And we turn those into what we call collaborative tracks. Those tracks or themes really are ways to group customers and companies so that we answer these questions in the most meaningful way possible. So in this episode, we're going to introduce you to our 2023-2024 collaborative tracks. And we're going to walk you through them one by one so that you know what's out there. And hopefully it'll get you starting to think about what the big, hairy problems are for your company to solve for your customer. And hopefully it'll make you want to join us because we love working with people who have listened to the Experience Strategy podcast, because you already have, as a listener, a really solid foundation in experience strategy, either just through your own work, but also through all of the incredible experts and experienced strategists that you've met here on this show.
Yeah, that's exactly
That was my
right.
dog Arlo, who thinks he's a canine experience strategist, but we all know, terrible designer.
Arlo definitely wants in. He's totally excited by what you're saying our answers. So that's awesome. And one of the things before we jump into the topic, the topics themselves, that I want to point out is that a lot of people, when they first hear about the collaboratives, they assume it's like going to a conference board session or being a part of a Forrester type of a group or something along that line. This is completely different. What we're doing is actually working on problems together in a collaborative fashion using a design thinking methodology to help companies solve for very specific problems that the companies have, but also very connected problems that all the people in the room have. And we do it every year, and we've been doing it for 20 years. And we have lots and lots of research from past years. You hear us oftentimes when we're in the podcast reference different elements, topics that we've covered in the past. So to Aransas, to your point, it really is a great next step for somebody who listens to this program to
I mean,
to help them.
I think it's so rare as someone who works in your individual questions and in one facet of your customer's life to have the opportunity to collaborate with the other people who are intersecting and impacting your customer's life. And so you can imagine a room in which you have experienced strategists from Coca-Cola and Royal Caribbean and US Bank and Disney and IBM and T-Mobile and Target and even Denny's, right? Like these companies, they may not find themselves in a room together to talk about their customers' lives at any other juncture. And this is this opportunity to get them in a room together to say, who are these people? How can we meet their needs in more meaningful ways than ever by virtue of looking at them holistically?
Mm-hmm. Everything's future forward. We're not looking at the past. We're looking 2 to 3 years out. What are some of the needs? One of the things I'm most proud of this year is that we spent so much time talking about artificial intelligence 3 years ago and working through some of the frameworks that these companies are now going to be using as they embrace ChatGPT and other technologies that are coming. So that's in itself is invaluable.
We have a pretty awesome track record on that front.
We do.
Yeah, it is remarkable when I look back at our work over the past 12 years in these collaboratives and see that routinely we've been 3 years ahead of these trends. And by the nature of the work that we're doing, because we are doing both ethnographies, we're doing deep quant and qual with the customers for every one of these organizations, these companies are able to be future forward. And so that's the other track record I feel incredibly proud of, Dave, is that when I look at the success of our clients, those who are using this research are owning their markets. And to me, it just feels like such a powerful proof point of this kind of work. And the fact that they come together year after year and they stick with this program, to me just says, okay, what we're doing is valuable. It's meaningful. It's having an impact for both companies and customers. All right, so let's talk about what we're going to focus on this year. So we have 5 tracks, and one of them is entirely focused on meaningful employee experiences. And let's run through all 5, and then we can dig a little deeper into each one. The second one is digital experience and how to become a truly meaningful digital experience company. Third is transformations. And this is about behavior change for sustaining impact. I think anybody who works in transformation understands that making an impact temporarily can be valuable to customers and companies, but it's really that long-term relationship and long-term change that has the most value for both customers and companies. Healthcare, wow, so important. Healthcare companies are struggling, I think, more than ever to deliver on meaning and value, both for employees and customers. So excited for this opportunity to think holistically about these challenges. And then finally, uncertainty. And I know this is the one that you've probably been the most excited about, but in this time of unprecedented uncertainty, economically, culturally, and really, frankly, on every other domain that influences our lives, how do we create experience roadmaps that allow us to be nimble and responsive to the demands of now? So that's just at a very high level what we'll be focused on. Maybe we start with employee, Dave, and just think about where the big problems are, why this is so important now for us to address. So the Meaningful Employee Experience Collaborative, this is focused on employee experience at a moment where I think more than ever, we are seeing the effect of experience on the success of this work. So we have seen 46% of employees say they've seen an increase in resignations over the past year. We initially, when we looked at that data, we were like, well, the great resignation. No, I'm sorry to say this is not a temporary problem. Year over year, we're continuing to see an urgency in this area. And with Craig Lutz, who you met on this podcast, I think we're seeing some new and different ways to use data to really understand where our investments are best made in this area, so that if we're going to invest in employee experience, we do it in a way that actually engages our unique and diverse employee populations. So what are you excited about this track, Dave?
So it's this particular track, I think, is going to build on all of the work that we've been doing for 7 years now around meaningful experiences, what makes for meaningful experiences. And everyone knows that the world of employee engagement is so different today because of COVID and because of inflation and because of remote work and because of so many different things that are going on, because of demographics, because Gen Z grew up in a time when things were very different than when you and I were growing up, Aransas, and what they expect from their employment experience is going to be very different as well. So companies need to think about meaningful employee experiences as being something other than benefits, something other than positive culture, something other, which is not, there's nothing wrong with positive culture, but something other than a Myers-Briggs test. There's a lot of kind of these old school ways of thinking about what makes for meaningful work, what makes for the type of thinking that employees want to do, the type of tools that people are really going to want going forward, and what is the nature of work. On top of everything else that's going on, now you have artificial intelligence, which is coming to play. It's going to change the way that people work even further. So I think that there's so much to cover in this particular category that this next year we're going to dive in. We're going to be as deep as we possibly can. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, me too. And especially after, listeners, if you haven't yet read our Fast Company article, Would Your Employees See Their Work as Time Well Spent? Go check it out. We'll be building on that work and helping the participating companies find out how to really meaningfully measure employee engagement and employee experience in a way, again, that is not just meaningful to the company, but truly meaningful to the employee. And if you didn't listen to our last episode, you'll hear the legendary neuroscientist, Dr. Paul Zak, talk about the direct correlation between employee engagement and customer engagement. Spoiler alert, it really matters. And there's a lot of data out there that we are confident will convince you of that. All right, so let's talk about becoming a digital experience company. So I grew up in my career in a legacy company that started out as an IRL company, transitioned into a digital company, and really, frankly, struggled to figure out how to meaningfully meet our customers' needs in a modern, sustainable way. And when we've talked to customers, 66% of them say that it's important. And in fact, a large percentage say essential for brands to focus on understanding their individual needs, situations, and circumstances. But only 25% of them say that companies are doing this well. We believe we've found the recipe for helping customers do better. So data experience design is a big conversation right now. And we believe it has the potential to replace and upend how we've historically thought about customer journeys. Individualization is a big piece of this, replacing sort of old conversations, out of date conversations around personas. Personas are great, but they are overused by many experienced strategists. And ultimately, I think have led us to a lot of misplaced decisions for our customers. Again, looking more at context than we do at omnichannel. So Dave, I know this is another one that you have been deeply engaged in the co-creation of, along with Joe Pine, author of The Experience Economy, of course. What are you thinking on this one?
I think every single company has to look very carefully at whether or not they should be a digital experience company. I can't think of a single category where they're not going to need to be a digital experience.
Can we clarify what it means, though, Dave? Because you don't mean you have an app.
No, that's right. No, that's not what we're
What's
talking
the
about.
difference?
We're talking about your ability as a company to produce experiences using the best digital strategy possible. We're talking about the ability to become a company that creates value through technology. We're talking about companies that, like your former company, which has gone through this progression from being an IRL to a digital experience. And I mean, this is kind of a joke, but now they're almost like a pharmaceutical company a little bit. But there's been this progression that has happened for them, and that changes culture. That changes the way you get things done. Right now, the entire world is beginning to see the possibilities of artificial intelligence. We've been studying artificial intelligence and what customers want from experiences that include artificial intelligence now for 5-6 years. And so we're going to build on that. One of the frameworks that we use to help companies think about the differences that are going to occur is a framework we pithily refer to as stupid, dumb, smart, genius. And I know stupid and dumb are not good words to use, but it demonstrates kind of this progression. We're talking about intelligence within technology, so hopefully that helps a little bit. But the difference between a smart solution and a genius solution, companies need to understand the difference. When is it that they include data and data experiences, and how do they do it in such a way so that it doesn't become a drawback, a negative against them? That's what we refer to as stupid intelligence, where we're really focused on, I know this sounds terrible, but I don't have a better word for it. Not smart, potentially. I guess we could use that word. That's the word that we use in the Harvard business review article that outlines, that's going to be kind of the basis for this particular track. So if you want to learn a little bit more about where we're headed, check out the HBR article that we have posted on our website, and it helps you understand the differences and get you started down the path.
Yeah. And I am so excited by the range of companies that are already signed up for this collaborative. I think this track has attracted a particularly interesting cohort of companies that understand how important a systems view of the customer is. So speaking of systems, let's talk about the transformation track. So our subhead on this one is behavior change for sustaining impact. Again, this is really where I've spent the bulk of my career, is in the transformation economy. And last year we ran the first transformation economy collaborative, co-led by Dave, Joe Pine, and myself. And it was such an extraordinary first year for this track, because we not only collected a massive amount of data that these companies are already using about how customers think about transformation, what they want from transformation, what they use to seek out transformational experiences. But we found in all of that where companies were struggling the most was on not just how to attract these customers, but how to retain these customers. So in year 2, we're going to build on all of the incredible frameworks and research and concepts that were created in year 1. And for those who sign up in year 2, you will have access to everything that we did in year 1, which I think is super important to know here. And then we will build on that. How do you take your customer from a visitor to someone who identifies with your brand and who feels so deeply supported by the guidance that you provide that they stay with you? And so this will be about creating lifelong relationships with customers by using behavior change and the latest research on transformation to really amplify the lasting impact of your work. Super important.
I'm excited. I'm super excited about this one.
Me too.
You are going to be leading this particular track. I can't wait to sit in and participate. Your background in behavior change and your work on meaningful motivation is going to be in the forefront of what we're trying to do. And we've made a long-term commitment to transformations. We really believe that the economy is starting to shift actually away from just experiences to transformations. And this is a shift that will take time, but was predicted by Joe Pine and Jim Gilmore many years ago. And it's happening in very different places. You will be surprised how many different parts of your life will be impacted by transformational thinking going forward. So,
one of the things that I think is a signal of that we haven't even talked about, Dave, is that so many startups want in on this collaborative. And I think that's in large part, of course, because historically we see that these smaller organizations are able to pivot and focus on the trends more quickly than some of the bigger, broader organizations. And so I do think there is a challenge out there too for the big brands out there who have historically really built up their capabilities and experience to think about where their transformational track lives.
I love that.
Because that's where we're headed. And this track is
absolutely
a perfect place to build out that competency.
Absolutely.
All right. So healthcare. Oh, healthcare. The data here it just feels so urgent and important. You know, by 2025, it's estimated that over 1 billion people will have had their genome sequenced, according to NIH. Personalized medicine is not a thing of the future. It is a thing of now. And we have to, in the healthcare space, begin to take a truly holistic view of our customers and our employees if we are going to meaningfully deliver value to them. And I'm really excited because we have, talking about competency, we have really invested as a company in this category. We've brought on Tiffany Mura, a renowned thought leader in this space who you'll meet in an upcoming episode, to lead this track and to lead our work here to ensure that we are really delivering on the most cutting edge research that validates what patients, employees, and partners really want and need from health experiences. So what's exciting you on this one, Dave?
You know, healthcare has been through so much over the last 4 years, and it was already in a tough spot going into COVID. One of the things that we're going to be doing that's different, because we've been studying healthcare now for at least 8 years in the collaborative, is that we are going to be looking at profitability. We're going to be looking at innovation that is holistic, where our focus in the past has been around digital experiences. We're going to build on, obviously, on that work as well. But we need to be able to figure out how to solve for these big challenges that these organizations are facing in a way that helps them to get to a place where their value proposition is strong, their ability to engage with their patients, with their employees, and with the other companies that they partner with is also strong and successful going forward. So for me, this is a really important topic. I know Mary is very, very concerned about
Putman,
this. And
our COO.
Mary Putman from Stone, from our chief
consultancy officer. Yes.
Right. Oh my
It's
gosh.
a mouthful.
Yep. There you go. We're excited.
We are. We're so excited we can't talk. I do think, like when I think about that one, I'm like, that healthcare track is going to have an effect on all of our lives. We all need to be worried about this, and we all need to be doing something about it. And this to me really is, again, if we think about the distinction between just thinking about change and wanting change, hoping for change, we're past that. It's time to do change. And this collaborative track on healthcare really is primed to do and be the change. All right, let's talk about uncertainty. So, Dave, I'm going to let you lead in with this one. You've really been leading the focus on this.
So, uncertainty is one of the key trends that we identified in the work that you led, Aransas, in our trends report for last year. Uncertainty is not going away. There's a lot of things that are going to happen, right, at a global level, at an individual organization level. We as companies are guilty of always designing for the ideal and the permanent. Okay, we come up with these amazing. We may use agile techniques. We may move very quickly to create solutions, but the solutions themselves we see as being permanent. And the fact of the matter is things are constantly changing. So how do you, as a leader within an organization, design for the impermanent and the less than ideal? That's really what we're trying to work on. The subtitle for this is creating a nimble experience company. And what I want to point out is that there's been a lot of work on making companies more agile, more adaptable. That is a 2010 notion. It's been around really in the modern business workplace since before 2010, but really kind of hit its peak at zenith in 2010. the problems that we're trying to solve for today are not cannot be solved just by design thinking techniques like agile. We need to be able to look forward, anticipate what will be the disruptions, how we will respond to those disruptions, and help our organization in the way that we manage processes, in the way that we develop tools, in the way that we train our employees, in the way that we build our channels to be ready when things shift, because they're going to.
Yes,
That's
it's future proofing. Yeah. And it's building on our strengths, right? And not letting them become our downfall. And I think we have seen economically, again, as a proof point, that the companies that are good at this thrived through the pandemic, thrived through political and cultural upheavals of the last few years. And the companies that didn't are gone. Yeah. I was, I live in a city, so I don't get to spend as much time in suburban shopping malls as most people. And just, wow, do you see with clarity what the effects are of this? The places that are expanding and growing actively over the last couple of years, and all those empty shells, poor Bed Bath & Beyond and its peers who just weren't ready. And I know there's a lot of other factors at play there, but that was a strategic failure. And we really believe that we understand how to set you up to be the success story instead of the cautionary tale. All right, so those are the 5 tracks.
One more thing about uncertainty for a second here. Many companies that did succeed built muscles that they never knew they had during COVID. And they were able to shift their business models. I'm thinking about some amazing work by one of our friends who was the chief marketing officer for O'Charlie's, how they were able to switch their entire business model when they couldn't have people come into their restaurants to ghost kitchens and things of that nature. Those muscles are very important, but they can calcify, or we can lose that ability, right?
Atrophy,
they can atrophy. That's the word I was looking for. Atrophy. They can atrophy, right? And so we want to help you continue to build those muscles and be ready for the next time around, because it's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about why people join the collaboratives. And I'm just going to pause here and say that if you were listening to any of these tracks and you're like, I want in, this is what my company needs to be better at, we are really excited to share with you that as a listener of the Experience Strategy podcast, we have a special discount just for listeners. So here's what you do to get that. I want you to go to LinkedIn right now, go to the Experience Strategy podcast page and send us a DM and say, I want in on the collaboratives. And we will let you know what that discount is. We believe so strongly in extending all of the ideas that have started in our podcast into action for customers and for companies, that we want to make it as easy as possible for you to join us. So just DM us and we will take it from there. And we would just be so thrilled to meet more of you as well. So please reach out if you're excited. Now, let me tell you a little bit more about what it is we do. So the reason people join the collaboratives is because they want to make a difference. They want to have greater impact for their customers, their employees, and their company. They also do it because they're tired of talking about ideas and they want to start actively doing this. So I just think this is a major differentiation between how we approach this stuff and how, I don't know, what you get if you go to a conference. It's great. You get lots of ideas. You might get access to hearing firsthand from the people you admire, but do you actually work with them on your problems? No. This is that place where you meet your experienced strategy heroes, where you get mentored by them, where you work together to think through solutions to your real life challenges. It's also for people who are looking for new tools and frameworks and ways to measure success for their experience strategies to prove that they're having greater impact, and where they build up lifelong skills that they will take with them to every company they ever work in. We are so proud of our track record of, you'll meet people in the collaborative who have come with 5, 10 companies over the years because of their own maturity in their careers. And so year after year, wherever they have advanced in their career, they have brought us along with them as their partner because they believe so much in the work that happens in the collaborative. We've solved so many wild and exciting problems in here. We had a beverage company at one point who was focused on creating the biggest employee engagement initiative in their history. We've worked with universities and hotel groups and restaurants and health insurance companies, financial institutions, RFID manufacturers, home manufacturers, you name it, from media to manufacturing. We have helped them create solutions to their experience strategy challenges. And they have walked away with not just a wealth of information in a short time frame, but actual validated solutions to their challenges. Yeah, right? It's it just doesn't exist anywhere else. And we have so much fun.
And this might sound overwhelming to you. You might be saying to yourself, well, I don't have time to do this type of a thing. So let me explain a little bit how the process works. During the summer months, Stone Mantle is doing primary research and secondary research around these particular topics. Then, starting in September, we have a half-day, full-day, half-day workshop. We call it a summit, where we bring all of the companies that are participating, all of the individuals together. It can be done hybrid, but we encourage you, if you can, to come in person. Yeah. And we start to work with your teams, and you go into your different collaborative groups, and you work with a larger group, and you work back and forth. And most people coming out of that session, their heads are spinning because there's so much that they're learning. Then we try to make it as easy for them as possible, but it is like hitting a lot of information head on. And then we, based on the feedback you give us, we go and we do primary research for your particular company and for the group as a whole between September and November. When November comes around, we have another half-day, full-day, half-day session that we do, where we move from the ideas that we're working on to the specific concepts and solutions that you're trying to solve for. And we take you through that process. And at the end of it, you have stimulus and tools that we're going to take to your target customers. Right. And we're going to work with your target customers to find out what their feedback is using co-creation research. We meet again in February. We report out on the findings from the co-creation research. We have another half-day, full-day, half-day summit that we do at that point. And then we jump into quantitative work. That happens between February and May. Our final meeting is in May. That's where we're bringing all of the pieces together. You're surprised how much you've learned, how many different friends that you've made, and you're saying to yourself, we've got to make sure our company accomplishes what they need to accomplish. So it's very hands-on, very much working sessions that we're doing.
Right. And you're involved in the working sessions, those summits that we're describing. You are all in. It is fully immersive for that period. And then we go off and do all the work in between sessions for you. So you tell us what customers you want to talk to and research and get more insight into. We go off and we use all of our cutting edge quant and qual methodologies to get that research for you. We then bring back a report to you that says, hey, here's what we learned about your customer. And you say, oh, well, that's awesome. Now I have these questions. We go off and do more research for you. And so it really is this passing back and forth of questions and answers about your customer, which builds on itself. It's cumulative over the course of the year, as Dave said. But I also think it's really important, Dave, to always remember that at the end of every summit, you have something you can go and act on in your company right away. So you're not waiting a year for answers. There is no successful company that is working on those timelines. Rather, we want to make sure that at the end of each of these summits, each quarter, you feel like, okay, I can go off, have big impact in my company and get ready for the next stage. And so it really is hyper focused on your performance and your impact within your organization for your customer. The other thing that I think is really important to mention here is that every single participant who completes the requirements receives the Experience Strategy certificate. So this is the only certification program for experienced strategists offered by Stone Mantle. And so as an outcome of participating in this program, you receive this. And when I say you, I think one of the things we haven't been clear about in here, Dave, is that like when I signed up as a participant, when I was with Weight Watchers, I didn't just sign up by myself, which would have been cool. I mean, I was the experienced strategy chick. It was good for me to have some new research and new skills, but I didn't come alone. I came with my analytics partner and a UX partner and a product leader. And together, we became the team best known for advocacy within our organization. So we not only had shared frameworks that merged our sometimes fractured organizational structure, but that created a more cohesive customer journey, because our customers were then seen across the different channels of our organization in a really clear, synchronized way. So I didn't just get better for the customer that I was focused, or the moment that I was focused on. We got better for our customer as a whole.
As a team. As a team.
Yep. And then we were able to channel that up and down within our organization to those who we reported up to and those we managed, so that we created a greater sense of unity across the organization. Again, there's nothing like this. So you probably have questions. Yay. We want to answer them. I know I said DM us over on LinkedIn at the Experience Strategy Podcast. Feel free to reach out to Dave or I individually. We want to talk to you. You are our people. You're passionate about this. We're passionate about this. We believe we do so much better together. So please DM us, talk to us about this if you have questions or ideas. And if you're interested, just let us know that you are an Experience Strategy Podcast listener, and we will honor a very special discount that we have just for you. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Experience Strategy Podcast. Thank you for joining us into a little detour into our everyday lives when we are not with you every other Wednesday. We are so grateful to you for being on this Experience Strategy journey with us. We are so grateful to you for being the people out in the world who aim to do better for customers and companies. Just by listening, we know this about you. And we want to help you do even better and have even more impact. So reach out to us. Let's continue this conversation. Let's go and make a big difference.
Thank you for listening to the Experience Strategy Podcast. If you're having fun nerding out with us, please follow and share wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Find more episodes and continue the conversation with us at experiencestrategypodcast.com.